everyone knows, despite what objections people might have, however justified they are or not, when you see the football and when you see fans from all over the world having a brilliant time at a tournament like this, then that stuff kind of gets pushed to the background a little bit, which is kind of where we are. But that's the way of the world, and that's the way of football these days.
It's unfortunate, man. And, as you're kind of alluding to, there's been a lot of off-the-field nonsense going into this World Cup. I'm happy that we can kind of focus on football. And as you said, fans around the world, regardless of what they look like and what they are, just sharing their love of football is fantastic scenes. I do have a question in relation to the World Cup for you. Who do you have as the favourites?
I mean, I think France, probably, just because of the attacking talent that they have. And, they're able to perform despite the fact their manager is... he's a bit of a French Southgate, isn't he? Very effective, but maybe just lacks that little bit of personality and what have you that you might like. But then when you've got Mbappe and Dembele, and you've got Barcola and Doué, and the incredible attacking talent they have, as well as some very good players behind that, it's kind of hard to look beyond them. Obviously, Spain were a team that I had my eye on as well, but they
disappointed me though, man. I know it's one game and I don't want to jump the gun, but I'm with you with Spain. I think for Spain and France would have been probably the bookmakers and a lot of us football fans' favourites for this tournament.
Can you imagine, if Spain had a Kylian Mbappe? It kind of
might as well pack up and go home.
Well, that's it. It kind of feels like that's the thing they've been missing for such a long time. That they've got these incredibly gifted wide players, brilliant midfield technicians. The technical level is off the charts, but they've had to sort of do with the sort of Oyarzabal or Llorente, these kind of mid-level, decent strikers, but nobody with the kind of the real caliber of someone like Kylian Mbappe, and if they could, I mean, maybe David Villa is the last one that they had.
They miss him.
Yeah, Fernando Torres, maybe when he was at his peak, was in that kind of conversation. But they were a bit disappointing. But what a great story it was for Cape Verde.
Especially the goalie.
Well, the goalkeeper is an Arsenal fan, and there's a guy who played at centre half. It's called Roberto Lopez. They call him Pico Lopez.
Oh, the LinkedIn guy.
Yeah, he's from Dublin. He's from literally just around the corner from me here in Dublin. He's played his career in the League of Ireland, and he was the LinkedIn guy who just saw a message and went, it's probably that diary of a CEO guy. I'm not answering that.
He terrorizes you as well.
And then he ends up playing at the World Cup for Cape Verde and putting in a brilliant performance. The block he made right towards the end was like straight out of the Gabriel playbook. So you get these lovely stories like that. As disappointing as it was, let's say, to see Spain. Well, if you're Spanish, I guess it was disappointing. For us who are more neutral, it's just sort of like, well, we expect more from them. But for Cape Verde to have a moment like that and to have a draw, a result like that is genuinely incredible. I think there is, a conversation to be had about how many teams are in this World Cup and how many of these group games they don't mean anything. You see too many games, you're looking at them going, I can't be bothered with that. But for it to throw up something like that, maybe that is the flip side of that. So we should enjoy it for what it is.
Facts, man. I think you're spitting gospel there. I got one last World Cup question. Now, I'm 31 years of age, and I've seen plenty of footballer shine at club level and obviously for country. Kylian Mbappe, arguably for me, I am leaning towards, I think he's probably the greatest player I've seen, specifically in the realms of the World Cup, not necessarily ability. I think he's got something like 15 World Cup games played, 14 goals or something of that ilk. Like, where do you stand, obviously, as someone that's seen more football than me? Like, where would Mbappe rank for you in that kind of regards?
I mean, he's on a pure talent level, he's unbelievable. The way he can strike the ball, the goal scoring record he has.
Ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. I mean, I think there are questions about him and maybe certain players who have that level of talent. Are they maybe just sort of waiting around for other people to give them the ball and do the hard work so they can just put it away?
Definitely at club level.
I think there have been questions about that around Mbappe, and I don't think they're incorrect. There's that. I think it was Mbappe, wasn't it? That clip with Luis Enrique, where he sort of talking to him training and saying, "Listen, you're
there." In that room.
if you want to be this, you've got to do a bit more. And I think Real Madrid is a really weird club for that kind of thing anyway, isn't it? It's
100%.
like, we don't want our star striker chasing back and doing his defensive work. We want him in the other half of the pitch, and that kind of plays a part, I think, in that. And PSG was a weird club as well because he was there with Messi, with Neymar. There's a lot going on when you have that kind of profile. Maybe if you play for an Arsenal, you've got to do a bit more. Whether that impacts
100%.
your goal scoring or not, I don't know. But listen, he's unbelievable. You can see why Arsene Wenger wanted to sign him at the age of 16, 17. Didn't quite work out for us, unfortunately. But he's a brilliant player. But give me Thierry Henry first. But he's close. He's close.
100%.
Yeah,
100% he's close, man. And it's just a shame. Like I feel with Kylian Mbappe, I've never been in their shoes, but I think it's easier to turn up for your country. It's an isolated incident. You put all the club noise to the side. It's national honor, etc. At club level, Mbappe's always divided opinion. I think we all loved him when he was at Monaco. He's kind of gone to PSG and Real Madrid and divided opinions and been seen as a bit of a divisive figure. And I want to pick my words wisely, but a bit of a dictator, especially when you mention PSG around the time they had Messi and Neymar. I think he's a madman, isn't it? Like he really is a madman. But I just wanted to see your side of that debate. Now, for Arsenal, though.
Can I just follow up on that? I mean, I think
go ahead, man.
The other thing is that, right, we externally, right, we look at PSG and we look at Real Madrid as not normal clubs. Yeah. They're not normal.
For obvious reasons, yeah.
We all understand how that club has been built over the last number of years. And, they found a formula now that works, but it's taken them 15 odd years to really 10 years, 15 years to find it, where they did go Galactico. They tried to be Real Madrid, and Real Madrid,
weird
it's a
club, as you said.
It's absolutely a bonkers club. Like it genuinely is. And the way it's run and the guy who runs it. So I think sometimes maybe our view of a player can be colored by the environment in which they operate, and I think that's probably true of Mbappe to an extent.
That's a good point, man. Especially Real Madrid, yeah, but I would say mainly for me at Paris Saint-Germain, because you do see the rumors and how he's allegedly throws players out, etc. So you are right, the environment does play a part. We're going to talk about the Champions League, unfortunately, but I've been waiting for this moment to get you on the platform because, in case anybody didn't know, so I'm going to say it again, Arsenal won the Premier League. Like, has it sunk in? Where would like everything around Arsenal winning the Premier League, man? I'm sure you've been asked this question a million times, but yeah, has it sunk in? How do you feel? Like everything, man.
It's been brilliant, to be honest. It feels a bit like sort of floating on clouds over the last month or so, however long it's been. I think it has been a month. And listen, I was in Budapest for the Champions League final. I came back and I was I picked up some kind of virus over there, and I haven't been well for the last couple of weeks. I'm just sort of coming out the other side of it now. Yeah, thank you, man. Listen, I haven't been sort of bedbound or anything, but I've just felt crap, but even with that, it's been enjoyable to just sort of float along on how good it all felt. And I think, we all imagined what it would be like, right? To win it again after such a long time. We all imagined how we'd celebrate or how we would be able to, I don't know, have the laugh with our mates who aren't Arsenal fans and who we've been getting pelters off in the WhatsApp groups for the last number of years, right? We all envisaged all of those things and the many aspects of how good it would be if we could do it, right? We shut up the pundits, we shut up the commentators, we shut up the people in the press, we shut up the idiots on Twitter and all those kind of people who just exist for the bants, who really aren't worth paying attention to. But if you're on those platforms, you can't avoid them because they're everywhere, because they're 24-hour morons who don't sleep, and all they do is like spend their time trying
rage baiting.
Exactly. They're just rage baiting. And listen, you can let it get under your skin. I'm not on Twitter anymore, but even with that, I still see it and I still understand how it sort of impacts the way people experience football, right? Because let's say go back to the Wolves game.
It was all doom and gloom.
It was all doom and gloom. And I remember seeing comments, and not just from like other fans, it was like, well, that's it. Arsenal have blown it and they've done it. And they're like, blah, 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 blah. So we've had to contend with all of that stuff, not just this season, but the season before, all of it, right? It has been a huge burden, I think, on Arsenal fans, on top of the fact that it was 2004 was the last time we won the title. You know, for a club like Arsenal, that's a long time. It's a long wait. So I sort of knew that when it happened, and I was always confident that it would happen, I knew when it happened, it would feel great. I didn't expect it to be as good as it was, right? In terms of how I felt personally, how I felt for like all the fans, you know, the people who read Arsblog and listen to Arsblog and watch your channel and who are watching this right now. I'm so happy for all of those people. And then you see the parade. Actually, before we get to the parade, you have Budapest, right? And I can tell you out there, the mood was unbelievable in the building. It was unbelievable. Like, I was there in 2006 and we had a great day in Paris in 2006, and then obviously didn't go well. But 2006, like, we just scraped into 4th place that year. You know, the team was sort of on the cusp of a regeneration. The mood in Budapest was brilliant. The mood among the fans was brilliant. And even when we lost, you know, after the game, the mood was sad, but it turned quickly, you know, because we had this safety net of what the Premier League brought to us.
Premier League champions, regardless.
Yeah, we were Premier League champions. And you know, we then saw the parade and we saw what it meant to, what, 1.5 million people who were there in North London, you know, and it was like each one was bigger and better. So you had the Tuesday night when we won it, and that organic collection of. Did you go to that? Were you around?
Yeah, immediately. Yeah, I was there. There's certain memories that stay with me for life that Tuesday, man.
Love it. I would like that. The parade, I can sort of take or leave it because it's just too many people for me, right?
Yeah, ridiculous. I agree with you on that. I think there has to be, I don't know how you do it, but there's probably got to be some traffic management in place.
I don't know. It's just too many people for me in one place, right? And I loved watching it from afar, but it was just too many people in one place for me. And
I wish I swapped places with you, man.
I was in Budapest with a terrible hangover. So I didn't fancy getting an early flight to London to experience that. But I have to say, the one thing that I did feel like, oh God, I would have loved to be there. I left London that Tuesday morning because I had to come back to Ireland. We'd been over there. We were at the Burnley game. We'd done our live event in Union Chapel, and I had to come home. I mean, I've been in London since Thursday. I had family home, so I had to come home. And then obviously we won it, and I saw that, and that's the one that made me like, oh, I wish I'd been there for that. I
wish you was basking in that one.
It was so organic. But then you had the one on the Sunday as well, and then you had the parade, and you just saw what it meant, not just to fans as fans, but to Arsenal as like a community. And I say that, you know, how do I put this? Like, a community that exists and is grounded in North London, but which spreads to every single corner of the globe and every country in the world, right? Because I know people, friends and people I know, you know, who came from Ireland, from America, from Australia, from Africa, from Asia,
every country possible,
South America, everywhere. They didn't come to watch a game. They didn't come to see a trophy lift because that wasn't happening. They came to be with other Arsenal fans, to watch a bus go by like that. Go, what? There's Calafiori. There's Declan Rice. There's
away from the manager.
There's Ben White eating his burger that someone threw at him.
The star of the parade, Ben, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And then it's gone, and then you're just there. And I think that, to me, was the greatest thing about it all. Like, obviously, winning on a sporting level is incredible. But, you know, we live in really kind of weird, difficult times, right? And what this demonstrated to me was that, you know, all the people that tell us we should be against each other and we should be divided and we should hate this person because of that and hate that person because of that, and this person should stay over here and that person should go back there, that actually you have people from every country, from every religion, from every creed, every color, just sort of being there in a melting pot of love and unity because of a football team. And it makes all that other stuff a lie to me.
Yeah, exactly.
A specific example of how people come together, but it shows you that it is far more possible and far more powerful than any of those people would have you believe, because they prey on fear and insecurity, and some of those fears are some of those fears are justified, maybe, but you know, if you scratch the surface, it doesn't really stand up to much scrutiny. And I think, you know, those scenes were just so powerful for me, and I think they encapsulated everything that's good about football but good about Arsenal. And we get a hard time as Arsenal fans.
Yeah,
we really do. Some, like every fan base, there's some people who don't represent us in the best way, and that's inevitable, right? You get that many people, there's always going to be a few idiots along the way. But what that showed to me, and I'm sure you experienced it yourself, was just the sharing of that joy is very, very powerful, and something that we need a bit more of in our lives.
I think you put it perfectly, man. It shows the power of sports. Like, obviously, there's an element of tribalism. Like, I mean, if you're not an Arsenal fan, like, you're not really going to care. But as you said, every person, every sort of physical makeup you could imagine, just collaborating and basking in the glory, and just that's why we watch football. That's what I love with society. But that's why we watch sport, because of those kind of moments. So I can't thank everybody around the world, whether you was there or not, enough for sharing that moment with myself and people like yourselves. I can't thank everybody officially working at Arsenal. We obviously geared it towards winning the Premier League, and you touched on some certain points there, and it made me think, which one did I enjoy most? And honestly, a part of me wants to, if you put a gun to my head, say the Tuesday, because I do think it was surreal. Like, I think everyone just went to the Emirates immediately, and before you knew it, it felt like the whole world was there. The Sunday was good. The parade was amazing. And especially because of what you said there, I think a lot of people don't live in the real world. Of course, whether you're at Budapest or you're watching it online, you're going to be hurt about not winning the Champions League. Of course, we don't have, for a club of our stature, we don't have a Champions League. We don't have the best of records in Europe. We lost on penalties. But I think if you believe social media, they'd have you believe every Arsenal fan's going to be sitting there and crying, and there's nothing to scream and shout about. And that was a reminder amongst everything you said, in that the real world is very different. I didn't see a single upset Arsenal fan. The only tears I saw was literally tears of joy. Arsenal fans, young and old, whether you've not seen us win a Premier League or whether you've seen us win several and you thought, you know, the glory days were past us. And as you said there in your closing statement, it's like, we need to get a bit more of that. It's like, I mean, it's almost like a drug and now you're addicted to it and you don't want to get rid of it. And we've got to make up for lost time, man. I'm struggling for the words. I can't thank them enough, man.
Can I ask you a question? Because you said you're 31, right? So you were what? 9
when we won the Premier.
So it's probably there in your consciousness, right? But you know, it was a different era. And we'd had success before, and we won it in 98. We won it in 2002. We should have won it in 2003. We go invincible in 2004. And I'm not saying it's normal, but like, what was it like for you then? You know, having lived those 20 years and sort of, you know, for want of a better expression, and forgive me for this, but sort of grown up in the 22 years, which have been up and down, let's say, right? We've had some frustrations along the way, and we've had some nearly moments along the way, and then we get there in the end. What was it like for you? What was it like to sort of, as a grown man, be able to rationalize it and sort of bring it all into your heart and to your head?
That's a very good question, Andrew. I'd say the first thing, tears, man, like literally tears. Because as you said, that's the first thing that went through my head. Is the last time I won this was 9 years of age. And obviously I'm 31. You go through a lot in life. You go from teenage years to being a young adult to a fully grown adult. There's a lot of things that life hits you with. But the one constant has been Arsenal Football Club in it. And it's like, it's weird because obviously 22 years is a long time. But when it initially happened, it felt like 22 years was 22 seconds. So it was a full circle moment. It made me think about like my life as a child. It made me think about silly stuff, bro, like the kits we used to wear, all the players that have come through, all the dark kind of times. I actually spent a lot of time thinking about the near misses. And honestly, it was surreal because kind of what you said when I asked you a question at the beginning, when you said, you know, something along the lines of, you know, I knew this day would come and I knew we'd celebrate and we'd be happy and things like that. But when it actually is directly at your face, you can't quantify it. And honestly, the first thing I thought of was, like you said, the fact that I've gone through a lot of my life not seeing us win the title, and it's a full circle moment. Made me a bit pissed off with Arsenal because it's been, you know, I should have seen this in my 20s type of thing, but it's kind of all right. And honestly, if I'm honest with you, it brought me to tears, man. It brought me to tears because it's like all that pent up emotion, that pain, that happiness. That was the only way to let it out, by simply crying. And I had a bit of a tear on the Tuesday because you're seeing the fans, you're seeing the chants, you're like, it felt like an out of body experience, if I'm honest, bro. It's like I stood there and I just took it all in. I'm seeing people climbing, I'm seeing fans young and old, I'm just seeing fireworks and whatnot. It just made me feel, it reminded me, I know we're a massive club and we're massively supported, but it was a reminder that I can't lie, I do think we're a sleeping giant. So it was the best way to say it is it was a fucking surreal moment, man. It was a surreal moment. I don't think I'll ever forget that in my life. Even if Arsenal go and win the next 10 leagues and things like that, I will never forget that one. I don't think a single Arsenal fan around the world will forget where they was on that Tuesday, even though we didn't actually kick a ball. They won't forget where they was. They won't forget what they was doing. And I did feel like a degree of relief for myself personally, for Mikel Arteta, because he's taken pelters, he's stumbled across the way, but he's always acted with integrity. For my players, it was tears of joy, because in the last few years, my heart has bled for them, because at some point the league's got away with that from them, and they've had to sit there with that feeling. So to know that they've got over the line, and you look at the storylines, man, you look at what Gabriel Magalhaes has been through in his life, let alone his trajectory at Arsenal, what Mikel Arteta has done for our club, Saka coming from the academy, full circle moment for Rice, who got released by Chelsea and now is obviously a Premier League winner. And it just made me feel pride. Like people forget these things in years to come, but every player's put their bodies on the line. They've really got it done. And just to see how crazy North London was, like the shops are going crazy. It's even going crazy in Tottenham, actually. Like it was surreal. That's the only way I could say it, Andrew. It's surreal. It was flipping surreal. It took a while to sink in. I think it only sank in this week, if I'm brutally honest.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's it though. It's like anything really big that happens in your life, right? You can't sort of you can't manage it. It has to happen to you, and you have to go through whatever process that is, whether it's good, bad, or, you know, and listen, it only happens when things are actually really good or really bad, right? The rest of it we can deal with and just go, whatever. But when it's really good and when it's really bad, you just have to let it happen and experience it and let it process. It sounds like you had a great time with it, you know, so that's the way it should be.
And it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Like I just find Tuesday so mad because we didn't kick a ball. And I would say another moment as well, because you're actually getting the creative juices flowing. I was obviously watching it on TV, and the banner came up saying Arsenal are Premier League champions. And obviously, I'm staring at it. I know this is real life, but again, surreal. It just hasn't sunk in, and you would only understand if you was an Arsenal fan, or maybe even Newcastle winning your first title your first trophy last season, or Crystal Palace. You'd only understand it if it's isolated to your football club. I know people take what I feel is the stupid and shameless view of, it's only won in 22 years, but you don't get what it means. You don't get the blood, sweat, and the tears, the failures, let alone the successes to get to this point. Like, you knew you was going to get there, but you just couldn't quite know how you're going to do it. And yeah, tears of joy. As I said to you, Andrew, it's genuinely only sank in now. It's only sank in this week. Like, okay, we've won the Premier League. I'm kind of in that mode of let's kind of go again. That's a question for me to ask you as well, because obviously you've seen a lot at this football club, but kind of what we're talking about, you know, you've had the 22 years, you've had the whole move into the Emirates, you know, there's been many a time our club hasn't been together. We have been divided. And obviously under Mikel Arteta prior to this year, there was 3 near misses of the Premier League. Do you feel, with the whole Mikel Arteta 3 years thing, getting over the line finally, and more so the cloud of 22 years, with the weight being led off, like taken off our shoulders, like how much of a benefit or an improvement is that? Because I do think for me, like what you said at the beginning, like when we do have that fixture like Wolves away, we're allowed to be pissed off, but it's not all doom and gloom. Or if we win a game, we're not all excited. I just feel like everyone can kind of calm down now. Actually, the players as well.
Yeah, I think that's true, you know, because was those 3 years in particular, I think, that were really informing the way people were reacting to a lot of stuff. So
100%.
I think it was the idea, and I understand it, was that we had to be perfect. We absolutely had to be perfect in order to win the title. So every time we weren't perfect, it felt really, oh no, is it going to happen again?
Is it happening again?
So I hope, from our perspective as fans, that it does give us a little bit of like, next year, we can say, well, yeah, okay, that wasn't the greatest result, but remember last year when we drew at Wolves and we still went on and won it. It doesn't,
7 points clear as well.
Mistakes can be damaging. They don't have to be fatal. And we have to be able to live with that, I think, as football fans, because you can't be perfect. You're not going to win 38 games in a season. It's just not going to happen. For the players, I think it will be fascinating. I think the challenge now is, can you do something that Arsenal have not done in the modern era, and that is retain the title?
Facts.
And that's tough, right? And it's going to be especially tough after a World Cup summer, when the players are not getting as much rest as we would like, or as much rest as they should need. But I also think there's something about being the champions, being a champion, being a Premier League winner, that gives you a bit of extra swagger or something, right? You heard Bukayo Saka talk about it this week, I'm sure, when he was talking about England.
Yeah,
he said, to experience the happiness and the joy and the what it meant to become Premier League titles has only made him more determined to try and win it with England. And we know, obviously, he's come close with England a couple of times to winning a major tournament.
Another one was near misses.
Yeah, exactly. So, excuse me, they have, they've maybe got some unfinished business at international level as well. But I just think it will and should take a big weight off everybody, fans and players, and maybe the manager and the coaching staff and the owners and everybody at the club. To get it done once means you can do it. It doesn't mean you're definitely going to do it again next year, but I think it gives you the confidence to believe that you absolutely can. Whereas until such time as you do it, you've always got those doubts. And even Mikel Arteta said that, didn't he, towards the end of the season?
Yeah, his interview was touching as well.
There were times where he said, he had doubts. He thought, maybe I'm the guy to get them to here. Do they need somebody else to get them to here to win it? I think that's a very human reaction, obviously, because this is a man who works incredibly hard. And I don't know that over the course of the 3 seasons where we finished second, right? I don't think there's a single point where he could look back and say, I haven't worked as hard as I can, but maybe I could make better decisions here or there, or maybe we could do something slightly differently from a recruitment point of view that can give us that little bit of an edge. But for him, I guarantee you, there's no point in those 3 years where he felt, well, the reason we didn't win the title was because I didn't work hard enough, or I wasn't dedicated enough, or I didn't commit enough hours to the project, to the training, to the planning, to the organization. No way.
It's going to do your head in.
Yeah, it's got to do your head in. So you're thinking, how do we get those marginal gains? How do we get that extra couple of percent or 0.5% that makes us better than everybody else over the course of 38 games? And listen, that's there's no magic beans in football, right? Unless you uncover the next Messi or something like that, and then you're just like, well, you do it. You
got your own cheat code.
Yeah, exactly. But that's lightning in a bottle kind of stuff. It just doesn't happen, really, So I think for Mikel Arteta as well, it'll be really, really pleasing that he proved to himself that, I'm sure he knew he could do it, but until you do it, you